Let's say a good morning again to Ken Rosenthal, who will roll his sleeves up on the NL East. And in terms of the contending teams, Kenny, and it's almost all of them, I think we keep the Marlins out of that bucket for now. Are they done adding to the rosters for 2020?
Matt, I just wrote a column, posted it on The Athletic, about how they should not be done and how there are two outstanding third basemen available on the trade market, Nolan Arenado and Kris Bryant, and how the four top NL East contenders all have varying needs at third base. So let me take you through this, just my explanation. Now here is how the NL East looks according to the projections of one American League team. They gave me these projections. You can see how closely the four at the top are bunched. So what I'm saying in this column is one move might decide this, right? Which team is going to make it? Now, let's look at third base for these clubs and how they project going into the 2020 season. Not so well. Now, the Mets are pretty well set with McNeil. They could, if they acquired a third baseman, move him all over the diamond. That might be the best way to use him, but they're right now committed to McNeil. The other three, well, the Nationals lost Donaldson. The Nationals lost Anthony Rendon, duh. The Braves lost Donaldson, and the Phillies are just sitting there kind of with Kingery, but not projecting to be too good. So this is why there is a need for each team, and we've already seen these teams be very competitive in what they have spent this offseason. Look at the amounts spent by each team. Now, this is just free agents, arbitration-eligible players, and extensions, a combination of all three. And you can see there's been a lot of money spent in this division already. With the Nationals, $235 million of that went to Strasburg. So for that reason, it might be tough for any of these teams to squeeze in an Arenado at $35 million for next year or Bryant at $18.7 million, because right now all four of those clubs are within reasonable distance of the luxury tax threshold. Look at the second column there. You know, the luxury tax threshold for this year is $208 million. So if you get Bryant, every team in this would go over except for the Mets. So right now, you're looking at a situation where it's a little bit dicey for a team to make that kind of move. But what I'm saying is you make that kind of move, you get that kind of player, and look at how much a better position you would be in. Again, not easy, it's not my money, but that kind of situation, when you have teams so closely bunched, and we have obvious needs at a certain position and players available at that position, it would lead me to believe those teams should be looking into those players.
Yeah, it all makes sense that if one of those teams were to land a Bryant or an Arenado, they would immediately leapfrog into the favorites position in that team, because it's hard distinguishing between those four teams. Who is the clear favorite? In my mind, it's Atlanta. I think we all have a different opinion on that.
Well, I think Bryant in New York, just the lightning rod of that would be cool. He'd be a bona fide star.
But Arenado in New York, no?
Yeah. I don't see them spending the money, though.
No.
I look at Nolan in this whole equation, not ending up with any of those clubs. I don't see anybody in the East spending that kind of money.
Well, a couple things I pointed out in the article, and certainly the Braves with Arenado, that would be a great fit. But even though they have the lowest amount of money committed going forward of those NL East teams, they have the least amount committed. At the same time, they're owned by a publicly traded company, Liberty Media, and they haven't shown much of an inclination to go to those long-term investments. Remember, Hamels for 1 year, Ozuna for 1 year, Josh Donaldson for 1 year a year ago. So to take on Nolan Arenado, it doesn't seem like something they would do. If that's the case, why not Bryant? Bryant is under club control for 2 years. Now, also with Bryant, he's an intriguing guy for the Phillies. Who is their right fielder? His old friend from Las Vegas, his fellow Scott Boras agency client,
team all over again.
Bryce Harper. And while the Phillies have greater needs with their pitching, both rotation and bullpen projects as the worst of the top four NL East teams. Kris Bryant in that ballpark with that lineup, wow, that would be something to think
I think
about.
it'd be great for Bryce, too.